Hi guys, so with Final Fantasy VII Remake's release date actually recently being announced, there's been a lot of hype, there's been a lot of videos about it. If you watch gaming content on YouTube and you haven't heard of Final Fantasy VII or Final Fantasy VII Remake, then you probably live under a rock. Some people that are out of the loop don't know how important or how much of a big deal this game is. So I'm going to make a video and open up a can of worms showing my opinion why I think it's important. So just a disclaimer, this is all my opinion, this is not fact for the most part. So Final Fantasy VII originally came out on January 31st, 1997. The game at the time had pre-rendered cutscenes. At the time, I mean now compared to nowadays, it looks like a bunch of blocks with pre-rendered cutscenes, but now back in 1997, that was actually very good graphics. The game was actually very ahead of its time. So you're probably kind of thinking, why is this game such a big deal or is really important? Is because this game really made up the JRPG in like the 90s. It was one of the first, I believe, that made the JRPG like in 3D. Because nowadays, JRPGs in 3D are very we're so used to it, but back in the day there wasn't really anything of its kind. So since this is being released in a new decade, literally, this is gonna be a pretty huge this is gonna be a big deal, just because the older audience has obviously been wanting this remake, or it's just like how this game has been needing a remake. The graphics, if we're just being honest, they're very, very outdated. So this nostalgia factor is going to be pretty huge for people who play this game ever since it came out or play this game later on. There's a lot of references to Final Fantasy VII. I remember not knowing the Final Fantasy series when I was younger. I think the first thing I ever knew about Final Fantasy was Final Fantasy VII actually. And I remember watching Adult Swim and Robot Chicken, and they had a reference to Final Fantasy VII. It's in a lot of pop culture, in a lot of shows and stuff like that, where they make little references to mostly Cloud, because he's the most recognizable in Final Fantasy VII. So I'm pretty sure, this is just opinion, but I'm pretty sure that out of all the Final Fantasy games, Final Fantasy VII is pretty much the most recognizable, most classic, most loved probably. People have their favorites. Final Fantasy VIII, Final Fantasy IX, Final Fantasy X, Final Fantasy X-2 with the series, Final Fantasy XIII, Final Fantasy XV. I'm not going to go there. Final Fantasy VII Remake is a very big deal, just because it was pretty much one of a kind that, it's just that the characters, the story, how they, at the time, it was just so well made. It was just long overdue for a remake. So since it was long overdue, I know there's gonna be a lot of expectations for the remake. I think they took enough time working on this game to make sure that it's right. So another reason why this game is a big deal, because this game is gonna actually it's gonna introduce a new audience to people, people who are used to playing the newer Final Fantasy. People who have played the new Final Fantasy might not have played the older Final Fantasy, especially the ones that are very, very out of date. I don't know about nowadays. Nowadays, people don't really want to. I mean, a lot of people don't really want to go back to games that don't have that great of graphics. This will give younger players a chance to experience what the people in the 90s experienced when they first played this game, but it's just going to be different because of the graphics. But at that time, like I said, the graphics were very, very good at the time. Nowadays, technology has moved so much forward with the graphics that this game is going to be definitely it's going to be a nostalgia game, but at the same time, a new experience for younger and older audience. I really do think that Square is going to show us how good this game is. I think this is their baby, out of all the Final Fantasy games. So they really want to reach to the older audience and want to satisfy them, and then also reach to the younger audience. This game just looks beautiful, Midgar, Aerith, Tifa, Cloud, Barret, all of them look very, very good. Revisualize Final Fantasy VII is going to be an epic game. I might even go as far as say that this might be bigger than Kingdom Hearts 3, and you know how long people have been waiting for Kingdom Hearts 3. I think this is gonna be a little bit bigger, in my opinion. By the way, this is random, but have you ever noticed with Final Fantasy, the name is so ironic that Final Fantasy never ends? In every game, it's a different story, except for the ones that have a sequel or a prequel or a movie. But every single Final Fantasy game has a different story and different characters and a different setting. But with this game being split into two discs, this game is really big. I'm not really sure how they're gonna do that. They might just release 2 of the discs at the same time, which I hope they do, because I don't want to play part 1 and then have to wait. This game is also pretty important because Final Fantasy VII with the other Final Fantasy VII games and like the movie as well, Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, this one, Final Fantasy VII, is the most outdated. Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core is probably the most updated Final Fantasy VII. So I also think for this remake, they're gonna put obviously some different things in there, especially, you know, like how we saw with the trailer, that those dark clouds surrounding Aerith and Cloud, that's something new. And I think they're gonna be putting little new things in there, which is usual for a remake. Most games do that. Although I would have to say for Final Fantasy VII, I'm kind of surprised that, I mean, this is I'm gonna say this is actually a good thing, but like with Final Fantasy VII Remake, I'm really glad that they're actually releasing it sooner than we all thought. But at the same time, they're releasing it near PlayStation 4's end time before they start releasing another version of PlayStation 5. I think with Final Fantasy VII Remake, I think this is really going to show people that Square Enix can make a very, very good game. They made good games before, but this is really going to show, I think, people are very, very excited. This is a very loved game. Like, I'm excited. You're excited probably because you're watching this video. So with that being said, Final Fantasy VII Remake is a big deal. It's probably the most important game in the Final Fantasy series. There, I said it. We're gonna just all be honest here. This is now almost July, so it's gonna be about 7 months. I'm pretty sure 7 months till this game releases. March is gonna be a very, very busy month. I do have to say, in my opinion, I do think this game I'm the most excited for any Final Fantasy ever. That's all for this video. If you liked it, make sure to give it a like and also subscribe. It helps me out and I appreciate it. You want to also subscribe for more content because there's gonna be more content. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!